Myself, Dr. Mohan Kumar, TP. Today I'm going to talk about business research methodology. In that, specifically, I'm going to talk about the interpretation of the result. The interpretation of the result from statistical analysis occupies an important place. Statistics is concerned with the aggregates and not just the individual data items or isolated measurements of certain variables. Therefore, the conclusions from a statistical study will be valid for a majority of the objects and normal situations only. There are always an extreme cases in any problems and they have to be dealt with separately. Statistical tools will enable a manager to identify such outliers. It could be abnormal cases or extreme variables. In a problem, a manager has to evaluate the statistical inferences, interpret them in the proper context, and apply them in an appropriate situation. That is very much important. As an interpretation, it is only through interpretation that the researcher can expose the relations and process that under his findings. His findings, all this analytical information, consequential inferences may well be communicated, preferably through research report to the consumers of research result. Then what exactly the meaning of interpretation? Interpretation, which refers to the task of drawing inferences from the collected facts after an analytical and experimental study. In fact, it is a research. It is a search for broader meaning of research findings. Interpretation is concerned with relationships within the collected data. Interpretation, it is often the most difficult to write because it is the least structured. Because see, there are many situations where you have a set of rules and regulation or formula or a structure. It's very easy to utilize that in a standard way. But when it comes to interpretation, there is no standard format. Interpretation, it cannot be copied from others. It is the power of interpretation. It depends on the interpreter, interpreter's experience, interpreter's exposure, interpreter commitment. The level of commitment and the way he interprets the information is very much important for analyzing, for taking a decision, or to suggest, or to conclude. The entire research is depend on the way the interpreter is interpreted. This section demands perspectiveness and creativity from the researcher. Major aspects of interpretation: the efforts to establish continuity in research through linking the result of a given study with those of the other, the establishment of explanatory concept. Why interpretation? After collecting the data, why interpretation? It gives meaning, it gives explanation, and it defend the data what we have received from the respondent. That is true. It could be primary research or it could be secondary research. It adds value to the data. Interpretation is essential for the simple reason that the usefulness and utility of the research findings, it lies in proper interpretation. Abstract principle and thereby can predict about the concrete world of events. Fresh inquiries can test these predictions even in the future. This way, the continuity in research can be maintained. Example of data interpretation: say the total population is 200. Out of that, 150 people have mobiles. In that, 100 of them has internet on their mobile. 75 of them use internet through mobile every day. In that, 75% of the people have mobile, 3 in 4 persons. 67% of mobile owners have internet on their mobile. 37.5% of all the people use internet on mobile. See, the way the data has been interpreted, what the data collected from the field, it is going to be interpreted on the basis of the data what we receive every day or half every second of the mobile owner use internet on their mobile every day. This is the interpretations made by the researcher or interpreter. Then relevance of interpretation, it leads to the explanatory concept that can serve as guide for future research studies. It opens new avenues of intellectual adventure and stimulates the quest for more knowledge. Researcher can better appreciate only through interpretation and its transition from exploratory to experimental research. Thank you very much for listening this video. Thank you.